Hello, this is Gabriel of ABU Games, and we have received our shipment number 2. So let's go ahead and get to it, and we can show you these BGS magic cards that we got in. Awesome. Okay, looks like we've got mainly a bunch of the reserve list cards in this shipment. And a quick overview, looked like a lot of them did pretty well. So let's start out here. Pygmy Hippo. I always thought this was one of the cooler cards, and it was actually played a little bit in Miracle Grow back a long time ago. So that's like the only deck I can think of that it was ever actually played in. Had Winter Orb in it, so you tap out your opponent with that one. Recurring Nightmares. Man, I just not do great on these. I'm seeing I got 3 of them here that are got 9s on. Sure would have liked to see at least one of them get a 9/5. Hopeful Archangel. Urza Saga is interesting. Urza Saga was a pretty insane set back in the day. I remember looking at the spoiler list when that set came out, thinking that what were they thinking? The cards are incredible. Cards like Time Spiral and Gaia's Cradle, just totally powerful. As funny as a lot of people think of Urza Saga as like an artifact set, but I always thought there was it was like more of an enchantment set. Well, here's a pretty sweet one here. Gaia's Cradle, 2 10s and 2 9/5s. Aye, one away from pristine. There's another 9/5 Gaia's Cradle, that's cool. Phyrexian Marauder. It's funny, cards like this you never think would ever be any good, and then somebody comes up with some combo deck that needs 0 casting cost artifacts, and all of a sudden that one's playable. Every once in a while you'll see Karn played in vintage decks. I always thought he was underplayed. Even today, I think he could be played a lot more because he just Mox Killer, turns all your Thorn of Amethyst and Sphere of Resistances into creatures. I think he's probably better than what people give him credit for. Here's a good example. Provoking Horror is just an average rare reserve list card, and I got 3 of them graded and only got 195. Sometimes it takes a few to get the grade you're looking for. I always thought the artwork on the Thought Lash was pretty crazy. I always liked it because it was so insane. All right, so these are reserve lists, but I always get try to get as many Force of Wills graded as I can. Such a hot card, one of the classic cards of Magic for sure. Doesn't seem to be much order to the cards when you get them in the shipment. I mean, I didn't spend the time. I could have reorganized everything here, but I just kind of just going through. It's kind of interesting too, I think, to have them all just kind of come out random. But when you open them up out of the package, they're just all over the place. Well, that's sweet. Even 9.5, Culinary Academy. Talk about one of the most busted cards ever printed right there. And to one of the least busted cards ever printed. I have no clue what this card does. This one, Mind Over Matter. This is a pretty cool card nowadays, especially for EDH. People build decks around this thing. When it first came out, though, we made fun of it, saying, "What the heck? A 6 casting cost twiddle?" Yeah, that turned out we were wrong on that one. That one has some pretty insane combo potential. People were abusing that card pretty quickly. Oh, here we go. I did get a 9.5 Recurring Nightmare. Pretty much impossible to remember everything that is shipped in with this many. Wow, look at this card. Pristine. Like I said, getting any card, any of these cards of pristine is like really, really difficult. So anything, even the Wandering Mage is a sweet card. So all in all, so far, there are a few 9s in this thing, but for the most part, I'm pretty happy with the results I'm getting here. Huge percentage of 9/5s. It's funny because I've said before, I feel as though I've got a pretty good idea of what I need to look for to make sure the card gets a 9/5. No, I shouldn't say it like that. How should I say it? Again, I know what to look for a card to have a good chance at a 9/5, because that's, and this just shows it. I mean, a lot of them I did good on, but it's cards that are getting 9s in here. Every one of these is getting a 9 in here. I had high expectations of getting a 9/5. And I guarantee you that if I look at it right now, I wouldn't be able to tell you, oh yeah, this is why it didn't. Usually I just don't have a clue why it didn't get it. I can't tell. And maybe that's just my super high expectations at this point, because it's still a 9. I mean, it says it's a mint condition. So what does mint condition mean? It should mean it's near flawless. So what does that mean about gem mint? Is it flawless-er? So there really isn't, unfortunately, something you can totally see the difference between them. A lot of times you'll see a 9 or a 9/5. If you were to crack the case, you wouldn't be able to tell which one got the 9/5 and which one got the 9. Obviously that's not the case always, but I would say quite often. The easiest one to tell, of course, is if the card's not centered. But that's also the easiest thing to to basically look at and say, okay, yeah, this card's, I can't send it in. It's not going to get a 9/5 because it's not centered well. So you would think I'd get all 10 on centerings, because anytime I see a card that's not centered right, I just automatically don't send in. But even that, I can't tell. I couldn't tell. I would never. Well, that's a nice card. 2 10s, 2 9/5s, just like the other one. So close. I was gonna say was, I would never take a card and say, I guarantee you this card is gonna get a pristine. Never. There's just no way to predict that a card is gonna come back perfect, but they're gonna see the same perfection in a card that you are. I would always say this card has a really good chance at pristine, but I would never guarantee it. Yeah, any of these old things like Mirage Rares, man, I am happy to see that I got 9/5s on these, because it was an incredible amount of time to figure out which ones to send in, because they're so hard to find nice conditions of these. They are almost all off-centered, or just like some corners aren't uniform. Something that's just for sure going to make it so it doesn't have a chance. This was a cool card, Meditate. I always thought this card was super powerful, and did play. It was great when with Sapphire Medallion deck back when Tempest came out. That was a deck, a bunch of Sapphire Medallions and cards that could abuse it. So for Meditate, you could get a couple of those out, and then you're playing with tons of counter spells. So you basically pay 1 blue, draw 4 cards. You lose a turn, but it doesn't cost you any of your mana, basically. So you're basically getting 4 cards for their 1 card, and that was pretty sweet. Okay, here's a good one. I like this card a lot. I love this card in Cube. If you ever play Cube and get a chance to draft Volra Stronghold, I highly recommend it. It's usually you can get that. If you open a pack and it has Volra Stronghold in it, you can pretty much be confident it's going to come back. People don't value it very high, and so. But when you do get it, man, it's such a good late game card with stuff like Mole Drifter and like basically any creature. So often, just little incremental advantage cards like that can make all the difference. I'm a big fan of Cube. It's one of the things I play most. I love it when it's on Magic Online. It's perfect too. I love how it comes and it goes away, because if it didn't go away, I would just lose. I would do nothing but play Cube, and then I'd lose my life to just playing Magic Online constantly. So it's nice having a break. But when it's on, I like to play it a lot. Memory Jar. Ay, this card. I got a good story about this one. This was probably the most busted card that Wizards... I don't know. I shouldn't say that. I just know there was a situation where I was playing against a guy playing a Memory Jar deck. Whoops. And he had a hand. He mulligans, so I'm going first. He mulligans to 6, and I cast turn 1 Duress. And no matter which card I take out of his hand, it's not going to stop him from doing Memory Jar turn 1 and winning. That's how busted that deck was. His hand was something like Memory Jar, Lotus Petal, Mana Vault, Tinker, and a land or something like that. So I could take the Memory Jar, and then he could just Tinker for a different Memory Jar, or I could take the Tinker and he could just cast Memory Jar, or I could take his fast mana and he'd still have enough mana to play the Tinker. So it didn't matter. He has 6 cards and he still won the next turn. That's how broken that Memory Jar card was, and they emergency banned it. One of the only times in Magic's history they came out and banned it before the scheduled banning time. And I was a victim of it. So yeah, I was pretty happy they did that. I didn't really enjoy playing against that deck. For whatever reason, I didn't play it myself. Here's a card I did play quite a bit of. I was a pretty big fan of the Hermit, Deranged Hermit Opposition deck when it came out. Witherseed Treefolk. I liked this card too. I used to play this one as well. I remember thinking it was better than it was, though, unfortunately. Palancron. Pretty good combo card with Mana Flare or High Tide. Remember the High Tide deck back in the day? That was a pretty cool deck. I just could not get lucky with that deck for some reason. Played in qualifiers with it and didn't do very well. Did definitely do well in the Gaia's Cradles. Here's another 9/5. Here's another Volra Stronghold. I think I remember getting a pristine one of these once. I'm thinking I was maybe I should just keep it because it's kind of a pet card for me. But oh, there it is. Got another one. How good is that? Sweet. Maybe I'll keep that one as a memento. Treachery. Pretty big fan of this card. They say all good comebacks in Cube start with treachery. In fact, well, this is the holidays when I'm recording this, so I've been playing some Cube recently, and just recently did a treachery into Nicol Bolas Planeswalker, so that felt pretty good. Ruffalos. One of the funniest artworks on any Magic card for sure. Hey, look at that. 10 Herald of Sarah. Dystopia. It's always a good sideboard card. I wish I had more stories to tell you about these, some of these cards, but a lot of these reserved list cards, they haven't yet made any decks, so I don't have anything interesting really to say about them. Most of my stories come from some tournament or something interesting that happened with the card, or maybe not a tournament, but used to play the card in an old deck. A lot of these ones were just have never made it yet. But you never know. You never know what weird interaction could end up happening with these things. All of a sudden, the card has just been a bulk rare or what have you, becomes a hot commodity. Like this guy, Metalworker, he's always been a reasonably good card, but nothing super special. And then the last few years, he just totally skyrocketed. Opalescence, perfect example too. Till Replenish came out, no one ever played that card. Well, there it is. But I guess that's a pretty bad example since they're in the same set. Let me take that all back. Paradigm Shift. That was actually kind of like a replacement Felton's King card in it for a while. Another 10. Divine Retribution. Last stack. Urtai got hammered on all 9s on him. That is unfortunate. Oh, Lycids. Boy, was that just a lame mechanic. don't know anybody that ever thought that was cool. It's super confusing too. No one liked it. Recycle. I've played a few recycle decks in the day. Try to break that card. It's definitely a card to build. You can build around. Alluring, jeez, this has been a streaky card. Changed it so much in value. Up and down, up and down. Oh, here we go. This one, I think I'm getting wrecked on a card. Bam! Pristine 10, Urtai Wizard Adept. And a 9/5. There we go. Came back. I guess the good thing about the 9s that you get from this submission, you know, are going to be super high quality, because at least I thought they were worthy of 9/5, if that means anything to you guys. Bam, one more. Did get a 9/5 memory jar. That was pretty fun. I do like these reserve list cards. They're starting to really grow on me, and I think I'm going to keep doing it, and these will be available in a month or so. I think it's going to take a little bit more to get the rest of these in, but I'll keep making these review videos as I get them in. I hope you enjoy them, and thanks for watching.